Thanks for clicking on this video. We're going to have a look at Carlsen versus Ding Liren in the online chess tournament on Chess24. This is the Chess Legends tournament. It's day 6. Carlsen and Ding will play each other 4 times, best of 4 matches, and this is the victory in the match. We are about to see a wonderful game. Let's take it from the top. Carlsen has white, Ding Liren has black. Just a quick intro to the players. Carlsen is world number 1 from Norway. Ding Liren, he's about world number 3 and he's Chinese number 1. d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, knight c3 and c6. We have the Slav. Bishop g5, very sharp line in the Slav, and h6 first. Bishop h4, d takes c4. So white gives up the c pawn, but he gets the center with d4 and e4. g5, bishop g3, b5. Let's just have a look at this opening. What's happening? What is this opening all about? White is giving up a pawn, so then he gets the center with d4 and e4. But if he cannot use his central space, then the extra black pawn on c4 will prove to be very useful. Bishop e2, bishop b7. You don't want to play a move like b4. You may be asking, now the knight does go to the edge of the board, but black takes the pawn in the middle, and then we can go bishop c4 or bishop e5 first, knight f6, then bishop c4. And black's pawns are all over the place. So you don't want to play like this as black. Bishop e2, bishop b7, castle, and knight d7. 403 games have reached this position. Same thing before. If you go b4 here, castle b4, white can actually play e5. So it's a bit different than before. And if you move the knight, then knight e4, already white is much better. This pawn is going to drop. Black has so many holes in his position. If you play a move like bishop a6, then knight fd2, it looks like we're going to get our pawn back with a great position. Even put the rook on c1. You may be asking, why not b4 here and then e5? What is the difference between this and the other variation? I think there's a big difference because you can take here, and if take, then take. And if rook b1, we've got bishop b4 check with c3. Check and then c3. Looks very dangerous. But in the other line, we don't have this option. b4, e5, if you go take, 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 rook b1, there is no check because white has already castled. So that's an opening difference, which I never knew about. For example, if you go c3, trying to protect your pass pawn, we're going to attack the bishop with queen b3. And then we can grab on c3 next, and black's position is collapsing. If you go queen b6, queen c3, this is going to drop. White has a huge position here. Castle, knight d7. And here, Carlsen plays a great move because it's basically a novelty. In this position, 403 games have been reached. But Carlsen now plays knight d2, and only 2 games have reached this position. This sent Ding into a 3-minute think, which is a big deal because both players started with 15 minutes on the clock. Only 2 games in this line, wow. Now, in this game, queen b6 was played. In the previous game, h5 was played between Fir and Durabaili, planning to trap the bishop, so you can go h3. So if you go g4, h4 was a good move. So queen b6 played by Ding. Another option was bishop e7 and a castle. But let's have a look at the game. Queen b6, attacking the central pawn. But Carlsen ignores it. This is his idea. Because why put the knight on d2? Firstly, let's play a4, a typical move in the Slav. You are questioning the pawn chain, so Ding defends it with a6. You do not want to take the central pawn because a takes b5 and black's pawn structure is just collapsing. Also note, black's king is still in the middle. So this is just a disaster. If you take back, knight b5 and knight c7 check. Forking king and rook. Note, there's a bishop on g3. So moving the queen, knight c7 check. So we can't do that. a6 is the normal way to defend your chain. Now we see the idea by white. e5, knight d5 and knight e4. The knight on f3 was doing nothing, so Carlsen has rerouted it to d2 to e4. Ding now plays c5, trying to break up the position. I just want to mention one middle game idea in this Slav. If black goes b4, then this is a normal way to continue. There is a5 in this position, but one option is actually just to straighten out black's structure, because after take, you can go knight d6. Now this knight is so dangerous, so you might take it. So we have this kind of imbalance. We can get this imbalance. And even though black's structure has improved, this bishop on b7 is not the best piece. This bishop is much stronger. Maybe it can go to h5, putting pressure on f7. Also, white can get f4 in. And if the f-file opens up, then there's pressure. So I thought that idea was worth sharing because it just looks so wrong to me that you're helping improve black's pawn structure. a4, a6, e5, knight d5, knight e4, c5. Knight takes d5, and bishop takes d5 played. Now one option was this. And I just want to show you this move because there's a brilliant tactic here, beginning with bishop g4. All these tactics are possible because the king is still in the middle. You may be asking why not take the knight, because bishop takes d7 check is really, really cool. You can't take because d takes c5 check from the queen, and it's a discovered check. You will lose the black queen. So after bishop g4, if you do go for this check, you got to play king e7 or you got to move the king. But this doesn't really look right. And then the game goes on. Maybe you take and then bishop back to g4. Now if Carlsen wasn't going to go for that, maybe he would have just played knight d6 check. So notice this was the strategy I mentioned before. You take on d5, you just straighten out black structure, but then you put your knight in d6 check. Take, take, and this bishop is a sad piece on b7. It doesn't really matter if black is up a central pawn. This bishop is better. It can go to f3, g4, h5. There's pressure, and that's what matters. Knight takes d5, so bishop takes d5. We can understand why Ding takes with the bishop, because Ding understands these Slav structures. So he needs this bishop in the game. Now we have a really cool move, knight c3. Notice the knight started out on g1. It went to f3, to d2, to e4, to c3. And from c3, very useful, attacking the bishop. C takes d4. Ding doesn't want to move the bishop. If he does, then d5 is very strong, just blowing open the position. If you don't take this knight, then knight f6 check is dangerous. If you do take it, it's even worse. The queen is now in the game. Along with these two bishops, we can play e6 to open it up. So c takes d4, take, take, and bishop h5. We saw this position at the beginning of the video. Black is 2 pawns up. Ding has a huge pawn center, but his king is still in the center. White is ready to open up. Ding now played knight c5, allowing queen takes d4, because the queen on b6 was defending the black pawn on d4. Now, a better option would have been bishop e7, but it looks very difficult to play this move. And practically, this looks so hard to play We're going to blow open the position with e6, another pawn sack. So notice, Ding is up 3 pawns, but his king is still in the center. Rook e1, and it just looks too dangerous. All of white's pieces are in the game. Wherever the queen goes, if queen b6, then queen f3. We're attacking d5, f7, you cannot castle. A good move would have been queen f6, but then maybe bishop g4. And white's got so much pressure. If you castle, then we're going to take on b5. This rook comes in the game. You can't castle this way because the bishop drops, but the engine actually gives that as the best option, giving the piece back. Maybe it's okay to return the piece because you've got 3 pawns for it. So very, very complex. A very rich position. So back to the game. Knight c5, played by Ding. Now queen d4. But queen e6, maybe this was his idea because we're going to use the queen as a blockader, which is not the best piece to use because the queen is so powerful. You might as well use a knight as a blockading piece. This knight can go to b3, attacking queen and rook. Bishop g4, knight b3, both queens attacked, queen d1, queen c6, and now a takes b5, tempo move. Playing queen takes b5, you don't want to go a takes b5 because when the rooks come off, the pressure will just be too much. Rook takes rook, queen takes, and we got e6. Just blowing it open. Rook can come here, bishop's here, and of course, the entire problem with this game is black's king has been in the middle the whole time. It's move 22 now. In most games, black has castled, but not in the Slav, not today. A takes b5, queen takes b5, e6. F takes e6 played, bishop takes e6. Notice black's king only has 2 squares to go to, so it should be mate very soon. Rook a7. Ding is not going to use his time at the moment to take the rook. White's threats are just too dangerous. Bishop takes d5. Now black takes the rook, and after queen f3, Ding had enough. There are a few threats here. Bishop c6 check, winning the queen. Also rook e1 check. Black resigned here, but we're going to play on just to see how the game will finish. If you go queen c5 to get out of the way of this check, let's go rook e1. If rook e7, I wasn't sure where the finish was. I just couldn't see it. Bishop c6 check is possible, but there's a really cool move here, bishop f7 check. And if king d8, you don't want the rook to move, so let's get the queen in. Not only does this stop the rook moving, it also attacks this. You can't take it at the moment because rook takes rook will be checkmate. So what can black do here? Black can't really move any of these pieces. Let's say he gets a knight back in the game. Yeah, rook d1 check. Now, the king can't go here, can't go forward, can't go there. It can only go to c8. And if it does that, then we can now use the queen. Queen takes a6 check, should be game over. Okay, let's highlight all the squares the king can't go to. Can't go to the d file, can't come forward because of the bishop, can't go to b8. So if you block with the rook, then we've got mate. Bishop e6 is a cool one. Also queen a8 will lead to mate. Queen e6 will also lead to mate in 2 as well, because you have to block with the rook. Here is the table for the match. Carlsen beat Ding 2.5, 1.5. This was the only victory in the match. More Chess Legends videos coming soon. If you enjoyed the show, then why not like the video and subscribe to the channel at the same time. Don't forget to press that bell, because then you'll get notified each time I release a new video. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end.